You've been in the news a little bit.
It is Splinter now, by the way, I think.
Lovely.
Just going to go with that.
It's phenomenal. It's brilliant.
Fuck it, embrace
Rebrand.
it. Yeah. A little bit of a backstory for anybody who doesn't know. Myles was on, was it Talking Brawls or Off the Brawls you were on, Myles?
Eurobash.
I was on...
Eurobash.
I was on Eurobash, sorry.
Sorry.
Just Niall
McGregor is just everywhere, so I don't know when I'm listening to him. So you were on that, and you were talking openly as Joe Duffy. I don't know if you've seen Joseph Duffy's interview where he spoke about you, and he said you were telling your truths. So there's nothing wrong with your truths, but you got a lot of backlash for the fact that you were over in AKA training in the lead up to obviously Khabib taking on Conor. So firstly, has the backlash and what people are saying surprised you?
No, not really, to be honest with you. I expected this, like, as Joe would say, Joe's a top bloke, like, and he said how it was there, to be honest with you. Joe's visited our gym, like, to do a bit of training just when they were... last time, I think, the UFC came to the Team Ryano, and he's a really nice guy, and he said how it was there, that it's just kind of expected in a sense, like, you know, that kind of a backlash, like, from the fans and all that. Like, it's just expected. They just see things in a different light, that's all, you know. So of course it's expected, like, that you get backlash like that, like, and particularly the Irish fans and the guys who support SBG, they're particularly ruthless, like, you know, compared to even any other supporters of any other teams in Ireland, you know.
What was your thoughts on Khabib's performance? Did it go pretty much how you thought it would have went?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I thought it was going to go a bit like that, to be honest with you. And I'm big into the psychology aspect of competing. Like, I think it's like, you know, well, everybody pretty much knows it at this stage, but it's about applying it is the hard part. Like, you know, the mind games in martial arts. And I feel like just from my insight of my experience of Conor as an athlete, I felt like that it wasn't looking good, like, you know, from a mental aspect for him, like, you know, the lead up and how aggressive and insulting he was and how emotionally invested he was. Like, he wasn't his calm, cool, collected self. Usually he markets himself a lot when it comes to like the smack talking in the game, and it works really well for him. But you can see when there's a fine line between it's actually affecting him as a person, you know. And I feel like that Khabib's skill set and how much has progressed over the last couple of weeks in the lead up from my experience of training with him, I was like, well, this progression plus Conor's emotional investment, from what I see from the press conferences, isn't going to be a good result for him, you know. I'd never count Conor out, because he's an amazing athlete. Like, you know, he's just one of those guys that he can still pull out of the bag at any second. So that's what made the fight really intriguing, and I don't think anyone could ever question that Conor could finish the fight whenever he wanted to. But I wasn't surprised, because Khabib's stand-up is gone a lot better. But when he knocked him with that right hand, I was like, wow, that is impressive. I thought that was crazy.
Was there anything in the lead up with Khabib? Because obviously Khabib was at least annoyed about what Conor was saying about his family and about his religion and his country. Was there anything in the lead up that you saw with Khabib where he mentioned being upset with Conor? Because all the way up the lead up, he was kind of just dismissing it, and it seemed like it almost just came out after the fight.
I'll be honest with you, he kept very cool and calm in the gym. He never really came across to me like he was he doesn't say very much, Khabib. Like, he's a nice guy, like, and he has the crack with you and all that, and he messes around and all, but he treats it like any other. He treated it like any other fight, and the only things he ever said to me was, "This is a mental game. Like, you have to understand this. This is all a mental game." And I was like, "Jeez, I bleed now. I'm fucking from Ireland. I train with the fella. I know." He is mental. So it is. But he had it spot on. Like, he was dead right in what he was saying. Like, it's a mental game, and you just have to treat it like that. You know, you can't get too emotionally invested. So I think possibly after the fight, he felt like he could let go of that. And that's when the antics and all that came out. You know, he held it in and had a leash on it for so long that after the fight, it just was like, overcame.
And did that surprise you when seeing it, with being him so calm? Did it surprise you when you seen him climb the cage and soar like an eagle?
Yeah, that's very well put. I was a little bit surprised because it's out of his character. But I also I'm not surprised about anything that happens with Conor's opponents and in Conor's fights. You know, like at the end of the day, I'm in a very neutral standpoint here. You know, because I can understand Khabib's actions, but I don't condole them either. You know what I mean? I can't look at them and go, yeah, you deserve that. You deserve that, Conor, or because like it's like I can see why Khabib done it, like, and you could almost have a feeling of, well, you deserve that, Conor, like, as well. But it's like you can't condole it. You have to be in this middle ground where it's like I can understand where it came from. Like, you know, he abused his family, his religion, like politics came in, a lot of stuff came out about Khabib that mightn't be the truth, like, you know, and I don't think is the truth, to be honest with you. You know, it's just all speculation and stuff that's made up by the media, a lot of the stuff, you know, and it's, and especially when it came to throwing the dolly at the bus and all that crack, like that's all stuff that's way, way too far, you know. So I'd obviously, when he jumped the cage, I was like, well, you had that coming, Dylan Dennis, as well, because he was talking smack in the like, let's be honest, right? Like, if you get kicked out of Marcelo Garcia's gym, like I like, Marcelo Garcia seems like the nicest man in the world in martial arts, doesn't he? Like, you know, he's like bleeding the Yoda of BJJ, like, you know. So like, there's got to be something. You got to be a little bit of a punk if you're doing that, like, you know. So I think that it was probably provoked by Dylan Dennis as well, and he jumped the cage. So I was like, look, I can understand why Khabib done it, and he probably did deserve it, but it's one of those things that, you know, it shouldn't have been done and you can't condole it. But I think what was really out, kind of could have been left to the wayside, was the stuff that happened in the cage. Conor getting hit and guys jumping in and that, and, you know. But I just saw a video the last day of Conor throwing the first punch, like when Manap got on top of the cage, like, so. You know, it's just a big mess, isn't it?
Your point is exactly what we were saying, is that we can understand it, but you can't condone it. It's like two wrongs don't make a right, and I think you summed that up. It's not the martial arts way, isn't it? Not? And it's just, I think that's the big thing. There was so many wrongs and no right came out of it. So I think that's my opinion of it. And I think the UFC have a lot to answer for it as well, Myles.
Very true.
Using, like, allowing what they allowed and using the footage that they used, I think they have a lot to answer for as well. And look, if a rematch comes around down the future, they're going to do the exact same thing again. Yeah,
I totally agree with you there, Noel. I think that's absolutely spot on, that the UFC get away with too much of this, like, and who are they to answer to, you know? Yeah. Like they should be have the fingers pointed at them a little bit, because they're paying for the repercussions of allowing that to happen. You know, they have to at a front, especially Dana White. Like, he needs to go, oh my God, this is disgraceful. But he'll turn around and he'll secretly be rubbing his hands together, like, you know. You know, going like, oh, this is great, you know what I mean? Because that's what people like watching. They like watching all that crazy stuff. And as Khabib said so finally in his press conference, that, you know, he wants to change the sport and he wants to put this in a different light. And I'm completely of that. Like, I think that martial arts has completely changed since when I started to now. Like, even things like working your way up the rankings, you know, like properly working your way up the rankings, not skipping a couple or skipping, like, you know, 5 or 6 guys just because you're marketable. You know, it's not healthy for the sport. It's not healthy for the longevity of the sport. If Dana White doesn't want the sport to be seen about like we're ruffians on the street, then stop showing footage of that happening on the streets. Then, like Conor throwing the dolly at the bus, you know, it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it in this situation. You're either completely against it or you're completely with it. Like, make up your mind.
Do you ever see the rematch happening between Conor and Khabib?
Oh, Jesus. That's a very good question. There's a lot of variables going on here now, to be honest, but I honestly don't see it happening anytime soon. Conor needs to tune a fight, because it'd be different if it was like a little bit competitive, but it wasn't really, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a competitive fight. Like Khabib, like, even at the striking, it wasn't really competitive. Maybe in round 3, it looked like Conor was coming back and getting into his stride and getting his rhythm a little bit again. But I feel like that it was so dominant on Khabib's half that it's kind of like, why would I give you the rematch? And it's like, I think Khabib will probably be of the mindset of, look, you'll probably have to have 1 or 2 more fights before you can fight me for the belt again. And he's in that position now where he can demand those things, you know.